All right, we're live, and I'm testing the mic. Just get my little sing on. You know how it is.
Hey,
Got to keep my fans happy.
absolutely. So let me, and we apologize for getting in here a little late tonight. Life be what they say. Life be life, and bro. Let me see if I'm sharing. Okay, if I'm sharing this appropriately here. But anyway, here we are. Another fabulous day. It's getting cold out there.
It is.
And that temperature has dropped, at the last, couple of hours. That sun went down, and it seemed like the little bit of temperature that we had went right along with it.
Oh, yeah.
But we are here again on Wednesday, another fabulous show. Let's talk about it. Unfortunately, because our tardiness, we were unable to get our special guest in here tonight, Miss Angela Williams. But however, she understood, and she will definitely be in the house here in the near future. Miss Queen, wherever you at, you need to kind of get yourself on back in here. I know I see you a lot in the community, and we be talking about a lot of different things, so we need to get you back in here as well. Brother KG, we're praying for you, brother. I know that you has indicated that you're still in a lot of pain and discomfort. There's been a lot of things that's still kind of happening out here in the community, pertaining to unsolved murders, which include your granddaughter. So we still hope and pray that one day you and your family will be able to find justice, for your granddaughter and your family. But in between time, man, get well, get better, and we'll see you back in the studio here soon as well. Brother Joe, it's been an interesting hump day.
It has.
What you been up to?
Oh, just the everyday grind out there in the community, trying to make it better every day.
It is inspiring, to help be involved and have an impact on the outcome. I speak to so many different community members, over a course of a week, and we talk about so many different issues and concerns that people are facing. And again, there's just a lot of people, man, that just don't know what to think. They don't know how to feel, but they do know that what they're feeling is not positive. It's not productive. It's not healthy. And that was one of the issues that and this will have to be another show some other time. But when we talk about being healthy, the African American community not being healthy, and that's mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, et cetera, et cetera. But, we're going to definitely talk about that here in the near future, because there's so many different factors that come into play on kind of why some of these things are occurring, to us, at this point in time. But with that being said, man, there's so many other different things that, that are impacting our community as well. And we say this time and time again. We understand, we acknowledge that you guys get very frustrated, you feel disappointed, and whatever else you may feel when it kind of comes to the system as a whole. And we've said this before, that you, the people, the power comes from you, the people, right? Don't feel as if the system's just going to do what they want to do. There's no reason for you to get involved, et cetera, et cetera. A no vote is a vote. And it is so important. You don't have to look far, to know that what is going on in our society, in our own backyard, it's not very comfortable. And this is why you need to kind of get involved, with your community and show up in order to have the type of outcome that you seek. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn on over to Brother Joe real quick, so you can kind of hit him with that famous backpack and some groundkeeping rules. However, I almost forgot. My beloved Vikings, took another loss, which wasn't, overly surprising. I'm disappointed that they have let go of Thielen yet again. And guess where he went to?
Yeah, he went out to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so you guys are just stealing our players and things, huh?
Well, no, players, they find out where champions are, and they generally want to go there.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Let me tell you, we it's been a week of a lot of buzz. Of course, Tomlin took a lot of slack on the chin and everything, but we're focused and ready to go and play the Baltimore Ravens and make things happen, and possibly end up winning the AFC North division. It's so crazy right now. There's so many variables that could come out of that. Baltimore could walk away with leadership. It could be Cincinnati. If the planet flips twice and goes left, it could be Cleveland, right? So it's real tight. We're just all waiting to see what happens. But yeah, we had a poor performance last week. We didn't play as best as we could. We had some injuries. As Aaron himself, took a shot on the nose. I mean, it's kind of hard to play with a broken nose. He was very frustrated about that, seeing him spit out that blood and go, but got up and got back in the game. So kudos to him for still being tough with his old self.
Right. Well, I do, want to give kudos, if you will, to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
They are playing very well.
Yes, they are.
Lord knows they haven't had too much to kind of cheer for the last 5 years or so.
Yeah.
But they are playing well this year, and I hope that they're able to kind of stick it out and win the division. See what they can do.
Well, Chicago's definitely doing some unexpected things. Right now it's really looking like, the underdog New England is out there and possibly representing the AFC, and the Chicago Bears out of nowhere are representing the NFC. And whether you like them or not, whether you respect them or not, the bottom line is, they put in the work.
Absolutely. Every
Every week they put in the work. It wasn't pretty, but they walked away with that W, and that's all that counts at the end of the day is who got that W, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're excited to see what happened. I'm hoping that things will work out for us, and we'll be playing the Bears or someone from the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Well, I have to ask, about these sweatshirts, these hoodies.
Oh, yes. So this is part of our campaign endorsement. We're letting these buddies go for any donations at $50 and above. And we want to get them out there so folks can see that they're out there. We got them in red, blue, black, and white. So, make sure
White
you
winter,
definitely contacting us or inboxing us, and we'll get you, set up with one of these bad boys to help with the campaign. The suggested donation is $50, but you can give up $250 per person and $500 per couple. So this is to help with the Banks for Sheriff campaign. As you know, we want to change things in Hennepin for the better, make it safer, and make tomorrow great again.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, with that being said, man, I'm going to go ahead and turn on over to you, man, so you can hit him with some groundkeeping rules in that famous backpack. So then, therefore, we can get to talking about just immigration and what they're facing and what they need to know to kind of place themselves in a better position.
Okay. So as you know, we just asked that everybody respect everyone's comments. No such thing as a bad question. Just be respectful about it, and we'll do our best to follow up with your questions and answers either through inbox, text, or phone calls. We're here every week, Monday through Friday, but basically on Wednesday from 5 to 6. So make sure you check in with us every week to see what we got to tell you guys. With that being said, we start milling in every show with the backpack.
That backpack.
And that backpack consists of making sure you have your driver's license and insurance before you get in that vehicle. Remember to place them above the visor. That way, if stopped by law enforcement, it won't be mistaken for a weapon. Remember to stay calm. Keep your hands where they can be seen. Allow the officer to go through his spiel. And as always, always, always make it on home to your loved ones. Same thing when walking down the street. Make sure you got your driver's license or ID where it's easily accessible. Remember to stay calm. Keep your hands where they can be seen. Allow the officer to go through his spiel. And as always, 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 make it on home to your loved ones. One more step to that thing is just also make sure you're cooperating, guys, following directions. If cops are telling you to do something, it's a lawful order. Please comply. If you got any complaints, you can always deal with it when there's someplace safer to deal with it. Okay? Make sure you're getting home and being around your family. That's the most important part.
Absolutely. And again, with that as well, I'm still seeing, a lot of young folks grabbing these permits to carry, and they're passing, with 80% or better. But we know that it's more than just shooting at a target and getting 80% or better. There's so many other different factors that kind of come into play. So, parents, please make sure that you are educating your kids on what it means to be, a permit to carry holder, and know your kids. If you think or believe that they don't really need one, talk to them, educate them, or be part of the process with them. So then therefore you guys as a family can kind of be on the same page. Stay tuned to, another, gun tip of the week as I do that every week to kind of just again educate, empower, and enhance you, the community as a whole. With that being said, man, we're seeing a lot of conversation. We're seeing a lot of information being put out there by a lot of different individuals and entities pertaining to immigration. Now we're on to the Somali culture, and the mayor of the city of Minneapolis came out and stated that he had received some credible information from different resources that there was a minimum of 100 ICE agents in the city of Minneapolis or in Hennepin County, or I should say maybe in the state of Minnesota, that is being deployed here to be able to take custody of individuals that perhaps is in violation of that temporary protection order that the president has removed. There's a lot of concern that this is going to reach into other things, right? There's already been, from my understanding, various Somali individuals that have been stopped and detained, by law enforcement or agents, and some, from my understanding, have been taken into custody. Sounds like it's a small few right now, and then some of these individuals have been let go, at the scene of wherever they kind of came in contact with law enforcement.
Okay.
I know that we had kind of talked about before in regards to when federal agents come into our backyard. Number one, how important it is to build those relationships. Because a lot of this it feels as if people don't know, because it seems like folks are not playing well together in the sandbox.
Correct.
And so when we don't have those relationships, then local law enforcement or maybe even state law enforcement may not necessarily be receiving the information that they should be. Number one. Number two is we also talked about before that even as a state or local agency, we still have a duty to show up and be able to ensure that the community and or the scene, et cetera, is safe, right? And some folks, a lot of folks may think, feel, or believe that it may appear as if we are assisting ICE, right? So we want to make sure that they have a clear understanding of exactly what that looks like and what that means. With that being said, and I know that this is a lot, but we'll break it down. today, the chief of police of Minneapolis had made a comment that if individuals see what they feel to be agents or unknown agents potentially kidnapping someone or assaulting someone or something like that there, then they need to contact 911. So then therefore local law enforcement can show up and be able to document, whatever incidents are occurring. And then even went on to say that his officers has a duty to potentially intervene if they think, feel, or believe that these ICE agents are committing some form of assault or crime or something like that there. So if we can just really kind of go into and kind of break these three things down, because I think it's pretty vital that whether you're Somali culture and or other, that your rights pertaining to local, state, and or federal contact with law enforcement.
Yeah, I think it's important that you're aware of what your rights are. But like I said, it does come down to the partnerships and the communication and the proper information being disseminated. Sometimes there's bad information out there. Let's look at it from the officer standpoint. Okay, so Minnesota doesn't have anything that forces officers to actually assist ICE with rounding up folks. That's clear. But we do have a responsibility to keep the community safe. And so that would involve making sure that the citizens aren't getting accosted, ensuring that, law enforcement from federal side is following the procedures. And like I said, if you have those relationships, you're going to be in the loop, right? You're going to know ahead of time. You're going to know kind of what's going on, who they're looking for, and that will help you do things better. You know what I'm saying?
And it still won't place law enforcement or ICE in any type of dangerous situation themselves.
Well, and understand this. I mean, this is not just an ICE situation. If a cop sees another cop harming somebody, he has a legal obligation to prevent that. I mean, that's the whole job, right? Protecting those who can't protect themselves. So we don't want to make it seem like, it's cops against federal agents. It's not. That's not the case here. The case is we're working to keep the community safe as a whole. And so if we get good information and we're able to stand by to ensure that these guys can do their job and remain safe and do it properly, and if there's any thing that goes wrong, we're there to document and prevent anyone from being seriously injured. So, I mean, that's the important part. Clear pathways, clear communication, and clear information out to the community, and good education on what's happening and what their policy is. How do you follow up to check on your loved ones, things like that. So just making sure that we're getting good information out to the community, and our federal partners understand too that we're not working against them, but we do need to make sure that they're letting us know they're operating in our backyards and be clear about what it is their intentions are.
Absolutely. So when we talk about not necessarily assisting, but we're there to keep the community safe, right? Can you just expand on that just a little bit, just so then therefore we can make sure that the community truly understands what exactly that means?
Yeah, I mean, it's the role of law enforcement in your community to make sure that the citizens of your community are safe. We understand that the federal partners have a job to do based on what their orders are, right? We just want to ensure that they're able to do their job professionally, safely, and keep the citizens safe themselves. And giving the information properly to the community members will keep them safe. Here's what's happening. Here's what they're looking for. Here's what you need to have in place. If there is some question, these are the papers you need to have with you. So that way, if you stop, it makes the process faster to be able to identify you, that you are in compliance. In essence, they're trying to gain compliance with federal statutes. And so we want them to be able to access that compliance in the safest, most professional manner to do so by keeping the citizens safe.
Right. So from my understanding, and I don't know exactly what those numbers are, I've heard that there's about 80,000 plus, Somali individuals here. in the state of Minnesota. But there's supposed to be only a small number, and I don't know if that number is 880 or 800, that is potentially in violation of this temporary protection order that was removed by Mr. Trump. And I'm certain that, our federal partners, they kind of know who these individuals are. But there's a lot of individuals that have been here for quite some time that are not part of this, temporary protection order. And they too, are being accosted, if you will, just simply by being stopped, if nothing else, to kind of prove, if you will, that they're not, in violation or whatever the case may be. What information, do you give to these individuals, because they are scared, they're nervous?
Well, I would say, they have a right to be concerned. However, it would be incumbent upon the law enforcement leaderships to ensure that they're communicating with our federal partners to have clear information so that they know who they're trying to identify. I know people think it's like they're out in posses grabbing people, but if these folks are actually trying to identify folks they have warrants for, hopefully they're doing the homework and they know specifically who they're trying to recover, right? In those situations where, they're out just kind of identifying folks as they go along, we would have to look at that and see what's causing that, right? Because they're supposed to be going by whatever information they have in a list of individuals, and those individuals are supposed to have either removal warrants or something to that fact that would, give them the authority to come and remove those specific individuals. There are a lot of Somali citizens or residents who here that have already gotten citizenship, right? But like I said, the key is doing the homework, and you'll be able to identify those individuals a lot easier through relationships, right? Those law enforcement relationships, because the problem is that I'm getting the feeling that the federal partners are feeling like they're not getting any assistance, and so they're kind of just winging it. And we don't want to be putting people in positions where we're winging it. We want to have clear understanding of this. This is the individual we're trying to identify. We've done the homework. This is the last known address. We expect to be able to contact this individual and bring them into custody peacefully, right? However, understand this, that these guys are still serving warrants. And so they're going to still put on the costume. They're going to still have the toys on, if you would, the tools of the trade. And so it's going to probably look a little more aggressive than it is, right? That doesn't mean that some people are going to surrender in all, so some people may resist. It may be some yelling and screaming. But at the end of the day, we should be able to identify, one, who the person is they're looking for, to the residents in which they're trying to recover them for, and hopefully they're taking them into custody in the most humane, peaceful way, so that it doesn't cause the people to be embarrassed and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
And honestly, it's going to sound crazy, but I would simply start out by sending out some letters going, hey, your status is in question. You can report to this center to try to clarify that. And then for those folks that don't actually show up, then this is our next step. So, like I say, it takes communication from those leadership partners. And when that happens, then everything works a little bit smoother.
Yeah, I know that there has been some information that's been sent out electronically and through text messages and things of that nature, providing, the Somali community with different information and resources on who to contact, like you said, what papers you might need to have with you, things of that nature. So if you are stopped and temporarily detained, that, you're going to have the necessary stuff in your backpack in order to kind of be able to go on your way. And it's very unfortunate, that these scenarios is going to present themselves.
Right. And at the end of the day, we want to tell people to, as frustrating as it is, try to peacefully surrender when dealing with law enforcement so that you can get to the problem at hand. We don't want to spend time with them wrestling you and having to accost you. We want to spend that time getting clarification like, look, here's my papers. They're in order. they can then verify it, and hopefully you're on your way.
Right.
I think we get in the woods when we're trying to get answers and people aren't responding, or they're responding negatively and combatively, and that makes it harder for them to clear the process. And so there's been a lot of pushback based on past history, but we have to start doing things a little bit better. We have to learn from those past mistakes. And like I said, I know that it's a problem politically for a lot of folks, but we've been doing immigration in this country for years. We just need to make sure that we're doing it properly.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so gaining compliance properly. And unfortunately, the other side of that is a matter for the judicial system, the court system, not for the law enforcement itself. You know what I mean? So our goal is, one, making sure the citizens are safe, clarifying with our federal partners what their intentions are and who they're looking for, and how we can best keep everybody safe while involved.
Indeed. Well, I think that there is two parts here, and people seem to be kind of unclear, uncertain, based off of various thoughts, emotions, etc., because they're seeing and also hearing, our chief in command, Mr. Trump, saying certain things that is unnecessary. It's pretty inflammatory. Some may say it's pretty derogatory and racist. And then he has, the attitude is basically, I don't care, right? But like you said before, despite whatever it is that he says or how he may do, people still need to make sure that they are able to kind of get up and go to work and do the things that they need to do in order to kind of take care of themselves and their family. Right. Then we have the ICE agents that does not appear at this point in time as if they are playing well together in the sandbox with local and state entities, whether that's law enforcement or city council or the mayor or whomever else.
I think the problem of it is, like I say, it's a political will. And we have to keep focus at the front of that pile is the citizen himself, right? We want to keep the citizen safe. Like I say, again, working with the federal partners to get that done, you need to be having conversations with them.
Right.
This is going to go a lot smoother when we know for sure. I'll give you a prime example. I know that based on past incidents, we're trying to protect our federal agents from some type of repercussion in terms of retaliation. However, we also have to admit that it creates a level of fear for those individuals to be out there completely hoodied up and faced up, masked up. So we could be clear on asking, hey guys, if you're going to be in the community, at least let's let the face show so we can identify any bad actors, right? More readily easable. Because that then creates transparency. People know that this guy has good intentions. And I think what we have to look at too is the history of people in masks, period, right? The history of people in masks generally meant something bad was going to happen to the person that was being grabbed, right? So we have to think about that when dealing with the citizens. We want to put people at ease.
So not to cut you off, but with that being said, and kind of where I was going with that is kind of where you picked up. You have the president over here doing whatever the case may be. You have the feds and locals and all this other type of stuff over here doing and saying different things. And then you have the community. And you're talking about how, we want to kind of keep the community safe. We want to kind of keep them involved, keep them educated and so on and so forth. But, how is a community member, to believe, that I'm safe, that I have all of the tools in my backpack, if you will, to be able to maneuver through my day, without being accosted, because, their thinking and their feeling, their emotions and things of that nature is all over the place because of things are just being blended in and they don't know exactly where to go.
Well, they got to talk to the community leaders. I mean, we can't allow fear to creep in and cause us to make random, movements. At the end of the day, it sounds like regurgitated rhetoric, but at the end of the day, these laws stem from the people, right? And if we feel like that these guys are enforcing bad laws, get with your leadership and change them. That's how simple it is. I mean, it sounds complicated, but it's really simple. You need to get with some immigration attorneys and some civil rights attorneys, and you need to get these laws changed on the books, either this way or that way, for a different outcome. So it's not like these guys are just pulling a rabbit out of a hat. These guys are working within the guidelines of the current law. Right. And so if we're not happy with the current law, stop just complaining, being mad. Actually take action. You know what I mean? Now, you don't have to be a senator to take action. A citizen can get with a representative and another citizen, and you guys can organize and bring a bill to be voted on. Right. And so all the way to D.C., right? All the way to D.C., because these guys represent you. That's what their job is. And so if you feel like this is something that's improper, then it's incumbent upon you to reach out to your representatives, bring pressure for them to do something about what's being said and done.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that being said, man, I would definitely encourage, some of our community leaders, Somali community leaders, to come on down, and be part of the show and utilize this platform of what it's for. And that is, again, to educate, enhance, and empower the people on the laws, and on the services and resources that they have within, Hennepin County and abroad, so then therefore they can stay safe and feel safe. And when they do kind of come in contact with, law enforcement, they will know how to present themselves and present the necessary documentation or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and don't be afraid if you're not natural born in the United States, okay? We have laws in place to protect you here on American soil, but we need to know what those laws are and how to utilize them to our advantage. And so, I would say to our community leaders, start having some clinics on what that process looks like. Be a little more visible. Let's get more literature out on what that process looks like. And also make sure that there's a clear process, a clear, direct process as to how that should happen for folks, so they understand that they do have a voice. Right? You do have a voice. You can change some things. If you're on that list of people to be picked up, you still do have some rights. But the most important part is we want to be able to focus on your rights, not on the fact that you're in the hospital or injured or being charged criminally with something, right? So comply peacefully. Make sure you got your paperwork in order. Consult with, immigration attorneys. Do everything you can to shape up things on your side, so when confronted, then you do have some kind of firepower to fight back with.
Absolutely. I would also encourage individuals, because I know that there's been a lot of different press conferences, a lot of people speaking and things of that nature, and maybe not even at the same press conference or whatever platform they're using to kind of get information out there. So, some of this stuff can kind of seem one person saying one thing, somebody else is saying something that's kind of contradictory. So I would make sure that the information, that you're looking for, comes from a reliable source. Contact the city.
Yeah.
I think would be a good place to start. Your mayor's office, to make sure that you're getting the right information.
And here's the thing I want people to understand too. This is the problem of it is for so long we really haven't had a president to really push directly hard on the immigration policy. And even though it seems as though Mr. Trump, President Trump, is being heavy-handed, the fact of the matter is he is acknowledging there's an issue with immigration that's been going on for a long time. We may not agree with the methods, but he's highlighting that, right? And so, just take the time to make yourself aware of what the process is. The worst thing that people have against them is the lack of knowledge and the fear of not knowing, right? Because you don't know what's happening to you. But when you understand the process, then you can say, okay, you know what? They may have picked me up, but I have this and that, and I know this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be able to talk to this guy or communicate with my family at this point. You know what I mean? So it's important. Simple things like knowing an alien number, right? The A number on people's paperwork. Knowing that, even when you can't get in contact with immigration on the phone, you can go on the computer and find out where people are being housed, where they've been taken to, if they're in what process are they in terms of deportation, and you know what I mean? So just having that information will empower you to be able to, okay, here's where my loved one is. Here's what our next step is. I mean, so those are the things we can do to calm down some of the fear. And like I said, again, from law enforcement, try to educate the community on what it is you're doing as best you can, and still have a conversation with those federal partners so they understand what that looks like coming into your community and how you would like them to perform their job while in your community.
And I think that's critical, that communication piece, because right now, it at least, from a broader perspective, because I'm not at any of those tables, I'm not part of any of those potential conversations. But right now, on the outside looking in, it just seems like, like you said earlier, like the feds don't feel as if they're kind of getting the support that they deserve or desire,
right?
And it's kind of like law enforcement against law enforcement type stuff. So they're just going to kind of come in and do what they want. And then, the community is like, well, man, if we can't be protected by, our local police, who can, who's going to protect us?
And I know a lot of chiefs are saying, look, no, we're not participating in any way, shape, or form. Here's the thing, though. It's happening in your community whether you're participating or not. So what we want to do is minimize the negativeness in the community. We want to minimize the harm that comes to our citizens and our community, minimize the fears, and ensure that things are being done properly. We're not saying the feds can't do their job. We're just asking that they do it properly, that we get properly informed, and information gets shared with the community so that they're not in fear, right? Because people are agitated about what they don't know, right? And it looks like you're just grabbing people, and that may not be the case, but on the outer side, the optics are bad about it right now, and so we need to clean that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see at some point a representative from the Fed side, doing a press conference with, some local entities, to say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to kind of do it. I'm sure there perhaps may be some snags along the way because nothing's perfect, but this is our objective. We are not here, to take any other type of illegal actions or cost any citizens or what they may think or believe is illegal immigrants or whatever the case may be. I think that would put, a lot of people at ease. Not necessarily saying that they got to be okay with it, but again, when they see law enforcement kind of playing nice together, if you will, in the sandbox, I think that will go a long way, because then when the mayor or the chief or whomever, puts out this information to the community, the community can be like, okay, there seems to be a plan here.
Right.
Right now there just doesn't seem to be a plan.
Well, I mean, like I said, a lot of people don't understand it. This is new territory for Homeland Security and ICE. Remember, these guys are used to enforcing laws along the borders and occasionally picking people up from court who have committed crimes and have been discovered to be not, legitimate citizens. But they've been put in a position to kind of go out and round folks up, if you would, right? And so even though they're doing this, it still needs to be done in a proper form. Right. And the proper form is identifying folks before you pick them up. Because when you can identify folks, then you know where you're going. You know who we're looking for. And at the same time, you can inform your partners, the law enforcement partners. Here's who we're looking for. Here's where we're going to be. This is what we expect to encounter. And if you want to just make this aware to your community, because then the community doesn't think, oh my God, they're just grabbing everybody, right? The community knows, nope, they're here for Marcus. Marcus, for whatever reasons, may or may not be in compliance. They're here to pick him up, and here's what's going to happen. Marcus is allowed to say goodbye to his family. When you do it professionally and proper, people kind of thank you for leaving them with some sense of dignity, right?
Right.
And so I always tell people this. I know sometimes we still got to arrest people, but can I leave the guy with some dignity, right? Can I say, Marcus, hey, we got a warrant here for you. Let me talk to you. Why am I saying that? Because I work with my federal partners. I work with my local cops. And I've got Marcus in a position where he's not embarrassed in front of his family. His kids aren't screaming what's happened to him. But I can explain to him, hey, Marcus, we're here today. We got a warrant for your arrest. You're going to have to take the ride with us. We're going to allow you to, hug and kiss your loved ones. You'll be able to communicate to them back once you're where you're at. Here's where you're going. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about tact and professionalism. We don't have to be heavy-handed. Right? We don't have to come in all the time so heavy-handed. It's about communication. And like I said, the use of force, the first use of force is what? Officer presence, right? And then verbal communication. And so we need to start there. With our federal partners, and our local partners, let's shake hands and be friends again, because we still have to do our jobs. We both have a job to do. Right? If these guys are in your town causing havoc, it's going to make the local guy's job that much harder, because you're still going to have to respond. Right? So it's best if we're communicating so that you're already there. And we're not necessarily, leaving our citizens hanging. Our citizens know that, hey, we're here to make sure you're safe and that the process is as painless as possible. No one's happy about having to be deported. No one's happy about that.
Right.
But these guys are doing their job, and we're going to make sure they stay professional, and we're going to support our guys, because we need them not just for immigration, but we have to use our federal partners in other situations too. But like I said, I would be clear that the one ask would be definitely, guys, let's unmask. Let's unmask. Let's go in here and do the job. Be professional, and you can still take people into custody without incident by doing so.
Right. Well, I know that we're kind of coming down to another end of a fabulous show. I know that there's a lot of information, maybe even non-information, et cetera, that is out there. A lot of people, I know, they're still scared, et cetera. They see a lot of different things happening, such as the two military personnel, that got shot in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, the young lady died, in that situation. And our condolences to to the military and that lady's family, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, it's really unfortunate, but it's these type of situations that throw more flames, to the fire, and really kind of gets things kind of all messy, and that's when things are between religion and politics and all.
Let me chime in quick, Beeks. We had a person say, what kind of paperwork do we suggest people carry? Real quick, I just want to say that I suggest you carry a valid ID or driver's license. Make sure that's
and make sure it's valid.
Yes, make sure it's valid. Make sure you got your passport or something with your AA number on it to identify any letters from the court that you have acknowledging that you have the right to be where you are, things of that nature. But just making sure your papers are in order, because they're going to identify you, and that's the whole goal. Maybe your last letter said, hey, you're good to go, and that's the last letter you got, but at least you have something to justify. passports, ID, things of that. Just make sure you have that paperwork if you feel afraid. But most importantly, just, weaponize yourself by getting clear understanding of the process. There's a lot of information on the website. Contact your local law enforcement, talk to your leadership in the community in terms of representatives, but find out what that process is, what it looks like, where they're taking people to, how they're communicating, how do you deal with ICE, who are your local ICE officers or agents, and where they're located at. So, and remember this, if you're feeling afraid and it's just you, there's probably 100 people who have the same thought that you do. So communicate that so that you all can come together. Don't be just the one voice in the darkness. If we're all wondering, let's all ask together, right?
Absolutely.
Go peacefully. Go over to your representatives and express your concern. You can also send letters, texts, and phone calls, right, to show your support.
Indeed. Any other question on there? Well, and I hope that we were able to answer that individual's question. And again, share it. Share it. But again, we're down to another fabulous show.
I mean, it's important information. I understand citizens' concern. This is a new thing. I mean, there's a plus and a negative, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, Trump's so hard. He's so hard. We do have some immigration issues. That's not something we don't know about. Former presidents, haven't been as direct about it. Trump campaigned on the fact that he was going to, take a stand on immigration, and so he's kind of pushing this agenda. So, we're not too shocked that he's actually following through, and I think that's what's scaring a lot of people is that we've had some presidents who campaigned on immigration but kind of bagged off of it from the pressures. This guy is trying to push his agenda, and so for that, he's doing what he said he was going to do. You know what I mean? But don't be afraid of the agenda. Find out about the agenda and how you can protect yourself throughout the agenda, and then you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to empower yourself. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, again, we didn't got the big man came in. You know what I'm saying? I don't want him to turn off the lights on us. But again, we appreciate you, the community, being part of our show. Please feel free to kind of come on down, be a part of our show, talk about what you're doing in the community, what your concerns are, the services and resources that you're providing. And if our show is just not enough, come on down to CCX Create and create your own show. They're always looking for new, insight, on things that are helping the community and things of that nature. So again, come on down. Either way, come on down. But again, we can't do this for free. Mm-hmm. And I know that times is hard. The holidays is right around the corner. But if you can dig in that pocketbook and that wallet and pull out an extra $1 or $2, I'm sure that CCX Create would definitely be willing to accept that $1 or $2.
Oh yeah,
they're not gonna send it back. Brother Joe, we've kind of come down to another spirited show, man. It's getting cold outside. Please, people, bundle up. Make sure that you're watching those kids tomorrow as you're getting out there for the bus stop. We hope that everyone had a fun, fulfilled Thanksgiving. Christmas is right around the corner. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on over to you, Brother Joe.
All right, guys. Like I said, make sure you're getting in touch with us on getting you one of these wonderful hoodies. They're nice and warm.
Yeah,
it's
buddy.
Cold. They're perfect for this cold. Give you a chance to get involved with the campaign. Go to our page at banksforsheriff.com. Find out how you can get involved and be a part of what we got going on, this winning team to make you and Hennepin County.
Wait, I just want to say one thing. He ain't getting no purple jersey. No purple hoodies.
Nah. Unfortunately, guys, I'm sorry. No, but they come red, black, blue, and white. Okay? All right? And so just understand that, we saw what purple can do. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, guys, make sure you get involved. Check us out, see what's happening. We'll be here again next week. As you know, we start middle end the show with the backpack. So I'm gonna hit you with this last backpack.
That famous backpack.
Yes. That backpack consists of making sure you have your driver's license and insurance should be before you get in that vehicle. Remember to place them above the visor. That way, if stopped by law enforcement, it won't be mistaken for a weapon. Remember to place hands where you can be seen. Allow the officer to go through his spiel, and always making it home to your loved ones. Same thing when walking down the street. Make sure you got your driver's license or ID where it's easily accessible. Remember to stay calm. Keep your hands where they be seen. Allow the officer to go through his spiel, and as always making it home to your loved ones. Remember, you got those coats on, so keep those hands where they can be seen when the officer is talking to you. Follow the direction. It's a lawful order when he tells you to do something. Be peaceful, be calm, and then we can deal with it afterwards. All right. With that being said, my name's Joe Banks.
And I'm Anthijuan Beeks.
And we just talked about it.
Peace.